Good morning, everyone. It's the weekend, Saturday morning. Still have some pretty good areas of severe weather to talk about here this weekend and even into Monday. I haven't shown you this for maybe a week, but the tornado count for 2025 is up to 10,090. I'm sorry, 1,097, not 10,000, 1,097. And as you can see, beginning back in March, the red line, which indicates what the actual count is, the gap between that and the average annual trend from 2005 to 2015 has been pretty consistently high. In other words, this gap right here, it just keeps going and going. You can see individual outbreaks. We had one in March where the number of tornadoes was, over 90 in one day, and the next day it was right around 70 or so. And then we had another outbreak right at the end of March, beginning of April. I don't remember the exact date where the tornado count went well over 100 again. So this has really, really been a crazy year. And, we still have tornado threats for the next 3 days. And it looks like June, it looks like the shift in severe weather will go to the northern plains, which is typical. But tornadoes are still very active in the Dakotas, Nebraska, parts of Wyoming and Colorado get into June oftentimes, and I think that'll be the case this year. Here's the visible satellite loop. It shows, once again, thunderstorm clusters in the nation's midsection, the Great Plains. These just keep firing and firing and firing. These were explosive at one point. You can see how the growth of the tops of those clouds there billowing above the tropopause and then settling down here in recent frames, but even more activity is developing now around the Red River here, and we'll show you where the severe weather is expected today. But before we do that, we'll take a look at the radar here this morning and show you this latest loop that is going through Arkansas, pretty good area of severe thunderstorms there, and two lines actually. This is not expected to be severe, but out through here again, there might be some activity later on today. Let's look at the HRRR simulated radar. Shows the current activity I just showed you, and that stuff in northern Missouri. This continues to track through Alabama and into Georgia, and then this area right here is where we're watching for more development today. And you can see lines of thunderstorms again very active. So as a reflection of that, here is the SPC's forecast, 24-hour forecast that ends at 7 a.m. Sunday morning. But certainly this part of it here we'll focus on in more on a second. But that's a 3 out of 5 severe weather chance. Also kind of a marginal risk there in North Dakota and parts of Minnesota as a front approaches. That same front will produce severe weather activity on Sunday. We'll talk about that in a minute. We'll zoom in on the southeast here and show you the extent of that. So Little Rock, Memphis, Birmingham, Huntsville, Alabama, not on the map, but that's a pretty big city there. Atlanta, all under this 3 out of 5 category for any type of severe weather. This outlook does not get specific about tornadoes, but this one does. So you can see the tornado threat stretches from Lubbock through southern Oklahoma, encompasses much of Arkansas, and then eastward to Atlanta in about that same area. So that's a 2% chance of a tornado within 25 miles. Not the highest, certainly. We've seen higher this spring, but, something that suggests that one or two of the storms could develop a tornado over the course of that 24-hour period. The Nadocast does actually put a 5% risk up through central and eastern Missouri, which I found interesting today. So I'm going to see how that develops, and also focuses parts of Tennessee and northern Alabama. And then this is the SPC's part of it is right here. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with these thunderstorms up, wrapping around this latest little wave that's moving through the atmosphere. If we look at SIPS, the actual target that it is finding is in the Carolinas. This is an analog match based on current weather conditions, model forecasts, and then taking those and looking and seeing, well, what happened in the past. Well, modes of severe weather, all three. That's where they're finding it right there. And then for Sunday, there's a front coming in like that. You can kind of see by the shape of the outlook where it is. And so we still have a level 3 category showing up quite active this year. Wow, it's just really, that's an enhanced, that's what that's called. So Oklahoma City, Panhandle of Texas, down to Dallas, again, all modes of severe weather. The slight risk covers much of Missouri, as you can see in the yellow, and then we have that weather system still leaving the East Coast. So all the way down from Washington, D.C., through half of the Carolinas, the eastern half, and solidly into southern Georgia, maybe even into northern parts of Florida. If we zoom in on the highest risk here, Oklahoma City, Amarillo, Lubbock, and Dallas all under the gun tomorrow. The tornado risk is in that exact same area. There is maybe a 2% chance along the front that needs to be watched, but the bulk of this activity is expected to be out over Oklahoma and parts of northern and northwest Texas. The SIPS outlook for that same time period here shows a severe weather bullseye here and here as to be expected, and this is a frontal bullseye here as well, so it's cutting through there like that. And then if we finally look at CSUs, which wasn't available for Saturday for some reason, so this is tomorrow's Sunday, tornado risk in about that same area the SPC is outlining with the high hail and wind risk right around the Red River Valley and into the panhandle of Texas. And then finally on Monday, not done yet, level 1 to 2, huge. Finally, this part of the country settles down and it shifts to the southeast, which has been consistent with all the forecasts issued here over the last couple of days. So Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Tennessee, really, and even South Carolina under the greatest risk on Monday for severe storms, with CSU putting the tornado risk actually up along the front in Pennsylvania and parts of West Virginia, and then the hail risk in Texas, and then the general wind risk out ahead, kind of in line with what the SPC really is outlined. Then the SPC issues no more forecast day 4 through 8. So day 4 is Tuesday. You can see coastal thunderstorm possibilities, Texas, maybe Louisiana, starting to show up in Montana a little bit more as the jet stream up there becomes a little more active. That gets enhanced on Wednesday with a bullseye in South Dakota, Texas, Florida, maybe some slight chances still remaining there. What's going to happen is the jet stream winds are going to be more favorable up here, producing bulk shear conditions, which are more favorable, but that is not going to be as prevalent in Texas. And then on Thursday, last 2 days here, just kind of a broad brush northern plains, southern plains scenario. And on Friday, again, the maximum up in Wyoming and Montana with kind of a broad brush severe weather possibility that is not focused yet. But as I say often, it will find some focus. And certainly this is probably going to be one of them. But I'll bet you that this will be too by the end of the week, and maybe some portion of this area as well. I just wanted to show you this. They issue this every week. So this is from the Storm Prediction Center. It's just a probability of any severe probabilities from 1982 to 2011. They just took that period and they just centered it on June 3rd and said, where does severe weather occur? So the epicenter is still in Kansas and Oklahoma, but it has been shifting north. And in a couple of weeks, this bullseye will be here and eventually up here somewhere. So it is the time of year in June where we start seeing the average severe weather kind of moving north along with the jet stream flow. Let's take a look at the supercell composite. This summarizes the last 7 days pretty well. Again, this isn't an individual forecast for any particular day. This is just adding up the supercell possibilities for a 7-day period. So still Oklahoma, Texas getting hammered with evidence that these fronts are kind of trying to push more stable air down into the eastern and Midwest part of the country, but still enough along these fronts to trigger there. And you saw that in the outlooks, but you also saw that this was being shunted away. So remember, this is a 7-day forecast. So the latter half of this week is probably not featuring this activity. That's all centered on the first part of the week. And then on June 14th through the 20th, now the northern plains light up, southern Canada, parts of the Great Lakes states showing high supercell indices finally. Still some activity along the dry line. Again, the moisture and the triggering mechanism, so the moisture is Gulf moisture that's coming up here. The dry line is the triggering mechanism. What's a little bit lacking here is the overall wind field supporting supercells coming out of this direction, but that is certainly going to be the case more to the north. So that's going to be an interesting mid-June for the northern plains, and it's basically the same kind of forecast for June 21st through the 27th. Have a good weekend. Thanks for watching today's edition of Severe Thunderstorm Outlooks. This is published every day after the morning Storm Prediction Center update. Also, remember to check that site off on day 1 because they update it fairly frequently. If you like this video, please like it. Also, you can subscribe to the channel for more content just like this.